Hello everybody, this is Mulenga and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me on a journey of personal and spiritual development. Today's video is titled, I'm Glad That Didn't Work Out. And I know that for a lot of people, we've had moments where the door was shut in our face, whether it was a relationship, a promotion, or an opportunity. And, at the time of going through, such an event, there are hurt emotions, feeling angry, resentful, maybe even bitter. But what if those shut doors are actually blessings? What if that disappointment is a blessing in disguise? And so that's what I'll be sharing about today. So as I mentioned, we've all gone through things. Now, for some, it's something that happened in the past, but for others, this is something that is recent, that just happened. Maybe it was a relationship that you thought was going to go to the next level, but instead it came to an abrupt end. Or it was a promotion. You had been working, slugging it out, thinking, wow, you know what? Yeah, at least I'll have a little bit more money for my children or to do those extra things. And while you were doing the work, somebody else got the promotion. And that can be very hurtful and disappointing. But I hope that what I will share with you today will help you to look at the situation in a different light and not to see it as something bad, but as something that is preparing you for what is really, really right for you. And so let's go. Number one, closed doors may be our protection. We only have the gift of seeing what's happening now and maybe even a hint of what we think will happen in the future, but we really don't have the full picture. And so there are times where what we think is a blessing now could turn out to actually be a curse or a problem later on. There are people who have gotten this a promotion or went to a company only to have retrenchment starting maybe a month after they went there. And most of the times, you'll find that, the last in are the first out. And I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, but there are times maybe you didn't get that job because God knows what's going to be happening at that company. Or it's just that there's something 2 weeks from now, a month from now, there's actually the job of your dreams. And if you're working there, you would not be able to see that opportunity. So take heart. Number 2, rejection, rejection can be redirection. There are times where we're so stuck in the comfort zone of the things that are familiar that there's that nudging that we need to make that move, but we are stuck there because it's a place that we know we're used to, and then something drastic happens. As I said, maybe you're so upset you didn't get that promotion. Finally, you start looking for another job elsewhere, or you finally start pursuing your business seriously, this little side hustle that you've kept small. Now, because you need the money, you start working on it and it begins to produce fruit. And one day you look at your company and think about your old boss and say, I'm glad you did what you did, because now you've got the full picture of what God had in store for you. Number 3, there are lessons in failure that we can only learn in failure that we wouldn't learn in success. Somehow, when things are going well, there's that tendency to just stop growing, stop developing because it's working. But when we get that sudden yanking, of something that was familiar, then we begin to grow. As I was saying, maybe you went for an interview and they told you didn't have practical experience, but you had the paper knowledge, you had the papers. So you decide to become an apprentice. And as a result, you see aspects of the business that you would like to continue with, but maybe other aspects that you think, no, that's not for me. And, and so that detour, that closed door helps you to actually assess what is really right for you and what isn't. I can, as I'm talking about, developing skills, growing, I'm thinking of an example that I saw on Dragon's Den. I like watching Shark Tank and Dragon's Den as those entrepreneurs are pitching. Well, there was this guy, he was pitching a detangling comb, and none of the dragons thought it was, a worthy pursuit, and so no one invested in him. But as he was going out, of the room, one of the dragons even shouted, "If you're gonna come here, at least do some market research." And it was supposed to be a jab. It wasn't even really like he was giving him advice. But then later, I watched a recap of what happened to them, some of the business ventures, and they showed this one. So, of course, as I mentioned, he didn't get anybody invested in him. But as he said in my imitation British accent, I thought about it. I thought it was a good idea to do some market research. Anyway, so he started knocking on hair salons or anywhere where he could get an audience to see if the product was really, really viable. And then, what he found? That people, started ordering that product. Salons started ordering and even, reselling. And so that closed door with the Dragon's Den was actually a blessing, because he got, to sell his product without having to give up any equity. He owned 100% equity at the time of the recap. I don't know if things have changed. And at the time of that show, he had made 2.6 million pounds from selling those little combs. And then the kicker was, one of the dragons said he went to his daughter's bathroom and saw that little detangling comb in the bathroom. And, they were laughing at him for the missed opportunity, because even his own daughter uses that little comb. So what was a closed door at that time was actually an open door for him to a bigger opportunity. And as I said, he kept the 100% equity. And then redirection to a closed door, or rejection could be redirection to the right door. As I mentioned, this guy, he thought the door was a dragon investing in him, but the right door was actually him just taking the product out there to the customers, and he got a good response. So think of this closed door that you have, that it wasn't the one. So you're being redirected to the right one. Remain open. It's not, I'm never gonna date again. I'm never, whatever. Hey, just because that was the wrong person does not mean the whole world is made up of wrong people. Maintain a positive attitude, an expectant attitude, that at the right time, God is going to bring the right one for you. And then, also something I wanted to point out, when we hold on to the wrong things, we shut the door. We, not somebody else, we shut the door to the right things. So you're holding on to this wrong person. He's wrong. Everybody knows he's wrong, right? Or she's wrong, or whatever, right? But because you're with this person, you can't be with another person. So there could be, there could be the right girl or the right guy, but because they see you are with this person, they don't make a move. I've even seen it. There was this shoe that it really was not fitting. It was small, right? It was a size small, but I was hanging on to it because I just liked it. Eventually, 3 weeks ago, I decided, come on, Mulenge, just give it up. So I gave it away to a charity shop. And then guess what? I got 2 new pairs, in the family cut, in the same color palette as the one that I gave away at half the price. I mean, good brands. And when it happened? When I finally gave away the one that I had been hanging on to. So, yeah. So the closed door, hanging on to what is wrong, is keeping us from receiving what is right. Number 5, if you may just count. Sometimes I get lost in the numbers. So this is number 5. We may not be ready for the opportunity that we're crying about. There's some things that if you get it too early, it might cause more harm than good. How many of you seen where, somebody, or even our kids, they want some things before before it's time. We're not withholding that stuff because we hate them. We're just saying, grow up a little bit and then you can have it. So I'm not saying no permanently. I'm just saying not right now because you're not ready for it. So there's certain opportunities where we think we're ripe and ready for it, but we're not. God needs to help us grow our character, grow, some emotional intelligence, some spiritual intelligence, some street smarts to be able to handle that blessing that God has in store for us. So it could be a temporary no, like, let's just grow up a little bit. And when it's time, you will have it. As I said, rejection, helps us develop, and it also helps us to really know whether this thing that we want is really what we need or it's the right thing, for us. I remember many years ago, I was young, my rent was due, and I was looking for a job. So I went to this employment agency, and they said they wanted somebody with strong numeracy skills. So I aced that test, and I was ready to go because the agent had said, their client wanted a person like immediately. And I'm like, I could go yesterday, I'm ready. And then anyway, it went all quiet. And I was really, as the weeks went by and the rent was due, I was panicking. And then eventually I went, the lady said, you know what, there's another, job, but, the person has to be able to type. And I wasn't really good at typing. Anyway, let me just fast forward. I get that job. It was admin, / typist at the same company. And while I was at the company, I was told that that job that I'd been, clamoring for, that the guy there was racist, right? And he obviously hadn't wanted a black person to go into his department. But at the same time, the job that I got, it was also the person of the same race, but he just was such a good leader. I'm telling you, a lot that I've learned about leadership, I learned from him, and just how he interacted with people, how, he structured his sentences. Because remember, I was typing the stuff for him. I learned so much, and I was only with him for 6 months, and he called me in. And he said, you know what, I know you're very faithful, but for that reason, I also want to be faithful to you. I know you can do more than you're doing here. So what is it you'd like to do? And at the time, I really wanted to do finance. And so he went and set up an appointment with the finance manager. And when there was an opportunity, I, in the department, I applied for it and I got the job. And then what is interesting, though, is that I was finally in the department that I wanted to be in finance. But I realized that I liked certain aspects of it, but I wouldn't want to do it as a career. And I know for some, that's your ideal career, but it wasn't for me. And so God knew that the skill that I actually needed was writing skills and typing, because now, I'm an editor. I have a writing agency. And so God could see what was in the future, what I really needed long-term, and what I really liked, because God knew I thought I liked finance, but so he gave me that opportunity to be in finance, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I'd wanted, and I didn't therefore pursue my studies further because I'd already made up my mind. And so I want to remind you that God has got your best interests at heart. God knows the future, and God knows the plans and purposes that he has for you. And if there's anyone you can live, you can live your future with, or your desires, your dreams, it's him, because he made you. He knows your makeup. He's the one who created you for a purpose. He knows the purpose, and he knows what you need, because this thing that you're crying over may not be the best for you. It could be a good option, but it's not the best option for you, because sometimes, because of the pressure of finances, or the pressure of the emotions, oh, the biological clock is ticking and all that sort of thing, we may settle. So there are times where something, it's not that it's bad, but it's not the best for you. And God wants the best for you. So I really pray that you take heart, take, in this crying as you're crying, because we are human, and, it's okay to feel, somewhat, cry in hope and just say, Lord, you know what, lead me where you want me to go. Because, what is yours is really yours. And if you enjoy this video, then you definitely enjoy the one that I did on, what God has for you is for you. So until the next video, it's bye-bye. Please share in your comments what story that you cried over. Now you're saying, I'm so glad it didn't work out. Bye-bye again.